Hello and welcome to Brilliant But Lazy. I'm Alan.
I'm Josh, and it has been a minute.
It has. Life has been crazy. I'm finally on my winter break, though, so I have a minute to podcast, and then I'm disconnecting from the world and going back to watching Christmas movies on VHS.
Nice.
So,
nice. Very nice.
How have you been?
Good. Busy. I went to Vegas for the first time a couple weeks back. That was fun. I saw a dare. Go ahead.
Well, did the house win?
Actually not. First of all, I'm not a gambler. I'm not. Okay. But the guy that it was a friend's work trip, and the CEO gave everybody $100 to spend. And the rule was if you win more than 100, you had to get the 100 back. And I was like, all right, that's fine. I'm not a gambler. And he's like, well, then go play. He pointed at the slots machine and he said, go play that. And I'm like, how do you play it? And someone said, you push the play button. And so that's what I did. I put $100 in there. I pushed the play button 4 times and I won $364. And so I cashed out of that, gave him his 100 back. Went to a roulette table, played 100, lost 100, and then I was like, "All right, I'm good for the weekend." So that was all the money I gambled on. But we walked to a lot of casinos. We saw the Bellagio Christmas thing.
Nice.
We went into the Sphere and watched Darren Aronofsky's Postcard from Earth movie, which was amazing. I mean, I felt like a kid walking into an IMAX for the first time, but times a million. It was insane. But good trip.
Nice. I haven't done anything nearly as exciting. I saw Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Nice.
Saw them dead center at the highest point in the arena. So I got to see all of the lasers doing everything with the smoke and all of that. It was a very good spot to be in. A lot of fun. Your camera's doing a weird thing with focus. I don't know. You're out of focus.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'll stop moving. Maybe it's because I'm moving around. Stop. Focus.
There we go.
On me.
There we go.
There you go.
But yeah, I don't really have big plans for the holiday, but it should be a good time of just relaxation, and I've got an awesome Christmas sweater.
I see that. I feel like you filthy animal.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm underdressed. Real quick, just a real. Yes. I mean, we don't have to make this a whole segment. Every year, what is your number one Christmas movie that you have to see?
Home Alone.
Okay, I
1
mean
and 2.
That's pretty high up there. 1 over 2.
I do a double feature.
Okay.
Non-traditional Christmas movie though, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is quality. Quality. Yeah. Val Kilmer. It's awesome.
Yes.
Mine, my commercially successful one is always Home Alone 2. I like that one more than the first one. But my non-commercially successful one is an Olivia Newton-John Hallmark movie made for TV called A Mom for Christmas, which is the Mannequin movie, but with Christmas themes. And I loved it as a kid. It's interesting.
Over on You Have to Watch This podcast, we just did an episode on Holiday in Handcuffs featuring Melissa Joan Hart and Mario Lopez.
That's hilarious.
Today, right before we did this, Devin and I talked about a movie called A Clusterfunk Christmas, which is a parody of the Hallmark Lifetime Christmas movies, written by Rachel Dratch and Anna Gasteyer.
Interesting.
Very fun watch.
That's funny that you mentioned Holiday in Handcuffs, though, because the girl that I've been talking to, that is her favorite movie. She just told me that last week, and I downloaded it over the weekend for a double feature, and I'm like, Mario Lopez, what? So that's hilarious.
Enjoy, and then have her listen to You Have to Watch This podcast. And
Will do. Will do.
Yeah. Shall we? We've got a lot of things to talk about. Shall we?
Got a lot. Yeah, let's just get into it.
Yeah, we're going to be catching up on a few things. Do you want to take care of the timer? Do you still want to do that idea?
Yeah, so we're gonna because we got several topics. What was the plan? We were gonna talk about it for 10 minutes, and then if it went over 10 and we thought it needed to go more than 10, then we would extend. So
we'll at
like
10 minutes
idea.
we'll try to start wrapping it up. You're out of focus again.
Gosh darn it!
So
I was trying to like zoom in so it wouldn't. Is it better? No.
Do you have a face tracking on for your focus? Oh wait, there. Back the other way. Back.
That way or the other way?
That way. That a little bit more.
Come on.
There you go.
Come on.
Yep,
okay, don't move, camera.
Yeah.
So you'll have to help me with settings. Maybe I have a face tracking thing I need to fix.
Maybe. So we're going to start with 10 minutes on each of the 3 main topics that we have. And I feel like the ending topic is going to take us a little bit longer to talk about.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, timer. I'm going to put 10 minutes on here.
All right.
Okay. First topic. What are we talking about?
We're going to be going all the way back to spooky season and talking about Agatha All Along, the spinoff from WandaVision, featuring Kathryn Hahn and Aubrey Plaza.
Yes.
Going down the witch's road. What did you think of Agatha All Along?
I'm not gonna lie. October was not that long ago, and this show is faded from my memory. I don't remember like hating it or anything. I just wasn't very interested. The whole where it started. She was in kind of like a Mayor of Kingstown type of thing, or it was mirroring a lot of different content. And was it Mayor of Kingstown or was it something else? It was the one with
Mayor of Easttown, I think.
Okay,
yeah. She was doing like the Philly accent that Kate Winslet does in that show.
Winslet, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I recognized what they were doing. I don't know why it was there, like how it got from the end of WandaVision to that. But I did like the sprinkling in of like, people around town still, like remembered what she was or whatnot, or hinted at that. But I don't know, man. I was having a hard time getting into this show. It was kind of all over the place, and I was just having a hard time connecting with it. What did you think?
I enjoyed the parody of Mayor of Easttown that they did, because it felt like it reminded you of, this is what was fun about WandaVision, like doing the parody styles of these shows, and that was something different that they didn't do. It was a tough start for me. Like, it was definitely a slow start for the show, but by the end of it, I was really enjoying the characters. I think Kathryn Hahn gives a good performance as Agatha. They give her a reason to come back. Like, the story makes sense. Joe Locke did a great job as teenager. But Aubrey Plaza and Patti LuPone stole the show for me. So,
I mean, it's hard. It's hard for them not to. I mean, Aubrey Plaza steals anything, but
which, if you would ask me, like when the MCU started, if I'd say the words, my favorite part of this Marvel project was Patti LuPone, I would look at you like I was crazy. But I think they did a really fun job of playing with the different time periods that they explore on the Witch's Road, and the different costuming and the themes that they play with, like the whole witches episode where they all look like different pop culture witches.
Right.
Was cool. The different versions of the Witch's Road song I enjoyed. So overall, I enjoyed it.
Where it ended versus where it's going, I'll be interested. I mean, I did like that they included Wiccan in there, and their journey and where that goes. So I don't, I don't think this is the last time we'll see these characters. I don't think they've Have they announced that there's going to be a second season, or if there's going to be a Wiccan show, or where they're taking this?
They haven't announced anything officially,
Okay.
but they have announced Young Avengers is coming. They have announced Vision Quest.
Is Young Avengers still coming? Really?
I think so.
I haven't heard anything on that in like a couple years.
Yeah, they haven't. I don't know if they've officially announced it, but they've been teasing it now with the Marvels and some other people who keep popping up. So I'm sure that they will come back again. I just don't know when, because they're kind of stepping away from TV now in a way with stuff. So,
I thought Aubrey Plaza had some great moments. She was, she had some, not scary moments, but she was intimidating at times, and I like that about her character. And Agatha, go ahead.
They did a very good job with like her makeup as Death.
Yes, very much so. And Agatha, I was just like waiting for her to screw over the group the whole show, I was just kind of like, all right, how much worse is it going to go from here? And then, when people started dying off or getting pulled out or whatnot, I was just, yeah. I mean, like I said, it wasn't a bad show. Like, I didn't come out of this like I came out of some other shows that I just thought were lackluster. I don't know. Maybe this was because I was realizing that Marvel Television is kind of on its way out. It just felt like, it kind of makes sense that it is. I don't know.
This at least had a better excuse of being a TV show than some other stuff like Secret Invasion. Like sure. I'm invested in the character Nick Fury, and that show does not do anything to service that character at all. And I've been following that character since 2008. Agatha showed up in WandaVision, and I found this story more interesting because this is at least a format that makes sense to be a TV show. Something like Secret Invasion, you could have made a movie, or even Falcon and Winter Soldier could have been a movie. Didn't need to be a TV show. This at least warrants that format. So
at least Catherine Hahn went all in as she does, and good on her for having a role that she can continue to do that. So yeah.
Where are we at time-wise for Agatha All Along?
3.5 minutes.
Okay. I think we can give our rating and then move on because I got nothing else.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm gonna give Agatha All Along brilliant. I enjoyed it.
Okay. It's been a minute since we've done our ratings. I would say it's not lazy. I would say brilliant, but I just this isn't a show that I think I'll ever watch again. Whereas WandaVision, I've watched again, and every once in a while, kind of want to go back to. It was interesting to see where this character went, and I would be lying if I didn't say, okay, I wonder where we'll see these characters again. But I just don't see myself watching this show again.
I will say the biggest surprise for me in this whole show was Ralph Bohner returning.
Yeah. Ralph Bohner.
Yeah. All right. Moving on, around the same time of Agatha All Along, the DC universe had a TV show premiere on Max and HBO.
That's right.
The Penguin, starring Colin Farrell, returning from his role in the Batman and his own spinoff show, The Penguin. What did you think of The Penguin?
I started off the last one. So what did you think of The Penguin? You start this one off.
I like that the show didn't like dilly-dally with what the story it was trying to tell. It picks up very quickly after the events of the Batman, and then the inciting incident happens in the first 5 minutes, and that's what sends Oz Cobb on his journey through the whole series, where he kills is it Maroni?
Falcone, wasn't it? Wasn't it one of the Falcone kids?
He kills the Falcone kid, and then everything hits the fan. I really enjoyed his performance. I think overall it was a very strong continuation of the Batman franchise. What did you think?
Are we talking spoilers? Or are we going to leave spoilers? I mean, it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. We don't have to worry about spoilers, I don't think.
Okay. Yeah, I thought this show was fantastic. Colin Farrell continues to just own the shit out of this character. And I was invested. I was invested in him from the Batman movie. And, you know, the end of the Batman movie shows him at the club looking over flooded Gotham. And that's where this starts. You know, this starts with the aftermath of Carmine being killed and his heir, inheriting the family. And Penguin, to his credit, looked like he was going in there to, get some stuff for himself, but then was ready to bend the knee to the next guy. And when the next guy started talking shit, he did not hold back. He took up his gun and killed that dude. And so I love that we were launched straight into this. And then, but then again, it's he can't just assume things. The Sophia comes back in, Salvatore is still out there, all this other stuff. Michael Kelly is Johnny Vitti, and that dude is always a slimy dude, no matter what show he's in.
Yeah.
Whether it's this or House of Cards or Lioness, he plays the same character, and he's intimidating in all of them. Yeah. But I love the mafia dynamic. I love the Penguin's Oz's need to lift people up around him, but you want it, you almost get sucked into wanting to yeah, that's right, he's the little guy, let's root for him, but then he's also ruthless. I love that.
There's a moment, if we're not worrying about spoilers, there's a moment in the finale where it's oh yeah, he's a villain, guys. He's the bad guy. He's a Batman villain.
They bring that home.
They bring that home. And he did the finale, I think, was the strongest episode because it really drives home the point of the show of, yeah, this is a show about a villain and his start and puts him in a very interesting place for the next few movies in this Batman universe.
I really want to see how this develops for sure.
And then you have
while you're yawning.
Yeah,
I thought Sophia, again, like Audrey Plaza, I thought she was intimidating and unstable and just really didn't know where that character was going or what they were capable of. I thought that was a fun element for sure.
It absolutely was. Her performance, Kristen Minnelodi,
yeah.
The mother from How I Met Your Mother, her performance was fantastic. If she doesn't win an Emmy, I'm going to be very surprised because they do so much with that character who is in the comics, but they flesh her out so much in this. It's phenomenal.
She brought an unstableness to her character that I wish we would see more in the interpretations of Harley Quinn, because I feared her character. I wasn't sure where her character was going. Every time she showed an ounce of emotion, I was like, okay, but is she about to freak out on somebody in the next second? She was. It was fantastic. Her performance was great.
Yeah, it makes me mad that the movies are doing stuff like Joker 2, but the shows are doing this quality of stuff. It's so much better than that movie. And
you can't deny that.
Yeah.
What do you think of Victor?
So I don't know if it was you. Somebody was like, yeah, he's going to turn out to be Victor Zsasz. No, he's not.
I might have told you that because I definitely heard that from somebody, and I was worried, and I'm so glad that wasn't the case.
It's weird there are so many Victors in Gotham. You got Victor Zsasz, Victor Freeze, this Victor. I really enjoy. He's about the only hero. His story is the corruption of a hero. You can almost see him as he has almost the same origins as some of the Robins. but taken under
especially with the car, starting off with trying to take the hubcaps off the car or whatever.
It's like, what if Robin was taken in by the Penguin? Like, what does that look like if a crime boss brings in this street urchin and takes him under his wing? And I thought that was a very interesting dynamic to see, because we haven't seen the sidekick angle in a Batman movie since 1997. So it was interesting to see that play out in this. And I was heartbroken by the ending of his arc.
Because they built him up so well. I mean, when you first see him, he's this stuttering kid that's just waiting to be killed, and you're just waiting for Penguin to kill him, and then he takes him under his wing, and then he makes a mistake here, and you're waiting for him to be killed, or he makes a good decision here, and he redeems himself, and you're happy that Penguin, is proud of him. You see his stutter not go away, but is managed more, and his confidence managed more, and you see his backstory with the flood and the family being lost to that, and that was a cool sequence. And he just ends up owning this at the end. And for him to go out like that is just like, oh my gosh, they wrote him up so well for you to really feel the death when Penguin reminds you that, oh yeah, he's not an inspirational bad guy, he is a straight up bad guy. You know? He's out there for him, I
think this is I've been very open about a lot of things doing stuff without the main character, like Joker doing a Batman story about doing a story about a Batman villain without Batman. I think this does such a great job of not including Batman in it, but he's there. Like, it's not like we're going to ignore him completely and he's not in this universe, but like we know Robert Pattinson's out with his eyeliner in a motorcycle listening to Nirvana somewhere in this city. We don't need to explore that story because this is like a side adventure with Oz Cobb.
Well, that foundation is there. That helps. It
does help.
It's not a Venom without the Spider-Man thing, or like you said, Joker without the Batman. The foundation is there, but Gotham is a seedy place, and there's so much shit going on under the pavement and under the monorail or whatever. It's fun to see the underside of Gotham because it exists, and for it to be fleshed out. This wasn't like a giant story. This was a very small little chapter in mafia stories and in Gotham. So I liked seeing that. It was good.
Yeah, stuff. And the ending with the bat signal hitting the sky was like, okay, now I'm ready for Batman Part 2. Please give it to me now.
Yes.
And now we have to wait like 2 or 3 years.
And somehow, and we've got 17 seconds, but somehow before we get the Batman Part 2, we're going to get a movie on another Batman villain, but in this universe. Did you hear about that?
Which one's
Mike
this?
Flanagan is doing Clayface.
Clayface, is that in this universe?
That's in this universe.
Oh, hell yes.
It is supposed to be coming out before the Batman 2. So hopefully, maybe... apparently the same year, so apparently maybe they're connected somehow. But
Mike Flanagan's been working with Mark Hamill lately. Maybe,
really?
Yeah.
I like Mike Flanagan. I like his work.
Yeah. I like what I've seen of his work. I like him on. He was doing some interesting TikToks there for a bit.
Was he?
Yeah. To the point where when I saw him at New York Comic Con in the autograph lines, like, I kind of want to just go say, like, do more TikToks. Like, All right, real quick, brilliant or lazy for the Penguin?
Brilliant. Yeah,
I'm going brilliant too. One of my favorite things about this show, though, was the score, because it wasn't done by Michael Giacchino like the Batman film. It was done by Mick Giacchino, Michael Giacchino's son. So
interesting.
He's taken over some of the franchises that his dad's too busy to work on. He's doing the Penguin. I guess he's just doing the TV shows. He's doing the Penguin, and he just did the score for Skeleton Crew.
Oh, okay. Well, very well done. Loved the cast. The cast in this show was great.
Yeah.
Lots of other, Sons of Anarchy alumni like Theo Rossi. The one gal that plays Eve, Carmen Ejago, I think is how you say her name. She was great. The twist on her with his mom.
Oh God, yeah.
That was a little. I didn't see it till I saw it at the end, and I'm like, oh my God, that's kind of creepy. I mean, they really sold it. They really sold this story, and yeah it was good. It's good.
All right,
let's wait to see more.
Let's move on to the most recent thing that you and I have seen, and what brings us together today. Kraven the Hunter.
Gladiator 2. Oh, not Gladiator 2. Okay, go ahead.
I still have not seen that. This film has 100% less sharks in the Coliseum.
Have you seen Gladiator 1?
Yes, I have seen Gladiator 1.
And you've seen Gladiator 2. Okay, that's all we need to talk about. It's the same movie.
Yes.
Kraven though.
Kraven the Hunter, the latest and final entry into the Sony Marvel villains films.
Let's hope so.
What did you think of Kraven the Hunter?
Okay. Since this is the main story, we can go over 10 minutes. You want to do spoiler-free talk first?
We can do spoiler-free first, if you'd like.
Okay. I was not intrigued by the trailers. I thought the trailers looked dumb as hell from the first time, and when it got delayed and they just kept on coming out with more trailers, I thought it continued to look dumb. It had Aaron Taylor Johnson in it, who I like for the most part. I was not sold by Russell Crowe being in it. I was not sold by the R rating, but I bought the cheapest ticket I could possibly get, went in on a matinee and said, you know what? I'm just going to go in as empty-minded as possible and let's see if I can enjoy it. And I did not enjoy it. It was not good. It was not good. I don't know. I'm struggling to decide if it's worse than Madam Web, but it's at least on par with Madam Web. The R rating was unnecessary and dumb at times. The After Effects blood was stupid. The language just felt thrown in there by a 5-year-old. And I'm so sick and tired of the let's turn villains into anti-heroes. And then if we're going to do that, let's do it with a shitty storyline. Somehow Sony wants to do this, and all I could think about was how we had such a better Kraven storyline in Spider-Man 2, the video game, than what we got on the big screen. Those are my spoiler-free thoughts.
Okay. I haven't played Spider-Man 2, the video game, yet, because I'm waiting for it to come on PC. So I'm going into this with a little bit different of a mindset with Kraven. I actually really like this movie.
Oh, wow. All right.
I also went in empty-minded, didn't see many trailers, had very low expectations, especially after Madam Web and Morbius. Okay, this is not going to be great, but let's try to have some fun with this. And I think this succeeds where those other films kind of fails. It leans into the R rating and tries to have some fun with it. It's not necessary fun. I think this movie could also be titled Kraven the Hunter, Aaron Taylor Johnson auditions for James Bond. Because there's a lot of James Bond-esque things that happen in this movie. It's okay, he's just auditioning to be Bond now.
That's right. He is in the running for Bond. Yeah. I mean, he is great. He is great. He's a good actor, even in movies that I don't really care for. I didn't really like Bullet Train, but he was fine in Bullet Train. I thought he was good. I thought the best scene of him in the theater when I went to see Kraven was the trailer for 28 Years Later that played before the movie. But in the movie, he drops his accent, every 5 seconds, but he was fine. He was fine in the movie. I didn't think he was bad.
I think the movie learned some from the mistakes of the other films, like Madam Web and Morbius. Like it also had a lot of time for reshoots and re-edits of things and the addition of After Effects Blood. And I think they really tried to course correct with this one because of the main villain films that they've done, I think this is the strongest story-wise. Like I could see them easily taking this and placing it into that universe because it stands alone so well. You can't, like, if you wanted to bring him in to hunt down Spider-Man for some reason, I could see that happening because nothing about this universe seems forced about Spider-Man or New York or the other, like, we're not name dropping Venom in this for no reason. We're not putting Peter Parker in here, but not ever saying his name. And like the only reference to that universe is really the Daily Bugle shows up at one point.
Well, but again, the problem with these movies are by the end of it, I say the same thing that you said. If he ends up going after Spider-Man for some reason that we can't think of right now, because at the end of this film, even though his brother calls him a killer, he's still an anti-hero in this film. Venom was very much an anti-hero. At the end of the first Venom or the second Venom or the third Venom or at the end of this film, I couldn't think of a reason why he would be the villain unless they came up with some convoluted plot or a Spider-Man film. But they are supposed to be villains, and like you can write a good... Okay, we just stopped talking about a show that rooted for the main character, but we all knew he was a villain. There was no doubt that the Penguin was a villain. You can write movies about villains. They're still villains. I don't get why Sony wants to make these guys heroes, and then with the idea that they'll eventually be villains against Spider-Man. Because why else would they be doing this if not to do some type of Sinister Six thing?
I mean, I think that this does a good job of not portraying him as a hero. Like he's going after Rhino to save his brother, but before that, he's
not a hero.
He's not a hero. He's an anti-hero, but he's also like kind of just the bad. Like, he's just a serial killer because he's going off and killing all these mobsters and poachers and all that. So like he's killing
mobsters and poachers. You just said it. He's the Punisher of the animal kingdom.
Josh, like if people that like everyday, if somebody that other everyday people aren't fans of is murdered in cold blood, do you really think people are going to cheer for that person? No, the person who killed that person is a villain. Like,
I see the dots that you're pointing at.
Yes.
And I suggest you check out Twitter because your logic is failing on a massive degree. This wasn't a terrible movie. No. I just didn't care for it. Russell Crowe. We got 3 minutes for non-spoiler talk. The only person who seemed to be like playing it up for this film in an enjoyable way was Rhino. He seemed to be the only actor that was like, I know what kind of film I'm in. Everybody else was like, this is a hardcore drama. We've got to play it as such. I loved watching, is it Alessandro Nivola? I don't know if that's how you pronounce him, but he's from Face Off. He's from Jurassic Park 3. I recognized him immediately and I'm like, this guy is going to be fun to watch on screen. And he was. I thought he was fantastic as Rhino. I thought the concept of Rhino was silly, but I liked his character, and I really did feel like he was the only one that was like, I'm going to be in a silly comic book movie, and I don't need to play it up like we're trying to get an Oscar here.
Yeah, I enjoyed him too. Best on screen, like best live action portrayal of the Rhino, even if there are issues with it.
I mean, it wasn't a mech suit. I'll give it that.
It wasn't a mech suit, and he definitely wasn't whatever Paul Giamatti was doing.
But I laughed so hard when it actually had a rhino horn, because throughout the whole movie we got teases of it. I guess this is a spoiler. We could talk about that later.
I think it's in the trailers. It's in the trailers.
Okay, but he was like a rhino, and I'm like, all right, man, you just really like rhinos. But then when it actually goes full rhino, it has the horn, and I was like, oh shit, it's not like a rhino, it is a rhino. He got the real rhino pills from some doctor, from some shady doctor. Yeah.
What happens on the safari stays on the safari.
Right.
Yeah. Do you want to give
another villain?
Yeah. Let's give our ratings before we talk about the other villain in here.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm going to give this a brilliant, but like I enjoyed it. It's not great, but it's enjoyable in my opinion.
I would say lazy, but just because it fits in this Sony whatever it is, to the point where there's even Sony executives saying we never gave this universe a universe thing because it's not really connected. Yeah, but you sold it like it was.
Yeah.
It does not surprise me that this seems to be the last one, and that this universe is going out and we'll see something else being born. But props to Sony for, they didn't get their Sinister Six thing, but back in Andrew Garfield days, we heard of all these spinoffs that they were going to do, down to the point where they had an Aunt May movie planned, and then that all crashed and burned, and then somehow they decided to go that route again, but they actually got these movies made, and I, as an adult, didn't care for them, but even more egregious, I don't think if I was a kid, I would have enjoyed these films, at least not most of them. The Madam Web thing, I love the Madam Web character in the 90s animated show. I think if I was a kid and had watched that movie, I would have been like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And maybe I would have enjoyed this more as a kid, but as an adult, I thought that it was lazy. Yeah, lazy.
No, that's all fair. So the one
might
villain
be skewed because of that game. That game's Kraven was amazing.
I cannot wait to play it.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
The third villain who's in here, the Chameleon.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about the Foreigner.
Is the Foreigner from the comics? I wasn't familiar with the Foreigner.
I believe he is. I don't know his power set. I'm not sure if that's something they did for the show or not, but by the third or fourth time he started counting down or counting up, I was like, do we have to go through the whole numbers again? Pretty sure he's from the comics.
He is a Marvel Comics character.
And is that his power set, or did they upgrade him for the movie?
Trained Assassin and Master of Disguise, minor hypnotic abilities. So yeah, those were his powers.
So you got the Jack Black video that I sent to you?
Yeah.
With my thoughts on
I think so.
Throughout the whole film, the Foreigner is 1, 2, and then by 3 he kills the guy.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, it's cool. You don't have to keep doing it. We get it. Like, you can speed this up. And then eventually, by the time they get to 3, what's her name? Calypso shoots him and says, 3, motherfucker. And I was like, you stole that from Jack Black on Jimmy Fallon. That's all I could think of. And I wanted to laugh. I didn't think it was as cool as they were trying to make it out to be. But
it definitely was. Her character was very bizarre in this movie. Like, she's a lawyer, but she has connections to find all of the help. Like all
so
of the.
So is she a lawyer for bad people? Like, is she a lawyer for the villains that Kraven is hunting?
She's a lawyer. She's a lawyer at a big law firm. So I guess the assumption is yes, all her clients. She knows people who know people, I think is the implication. So she uses her connections.
Okay. She went from the plains of Africa to the lawyer underground assassin world of New York or whatever, London or whatever town she was in.
It was London, because the whole time I was thinking, like, Devin could have been in this movie. So
that's true. So I guess she wasn't born in Africa. They were there to visit her grandma or something.
She was an American who went to visit her grandmother in Africa and then ended up working in London as an adult.
Right, and got visited her grandma just enough to get all the magical serum she needed.
Yes, twice.
And to talk to a CGI line. I will give it this: the CGI creatures in this film were better than the CGI creatures in Gladiator 2, which is how Ridley Scott, you should be ashamed of that alone. But
yeah, somebody made the point online about how the visuals of Madam Web are better than the visuals of Spider-Man No Way Home. I was like, looking at the two frames that you pulled, yes, they are, but also No Way Home was shot on a green screen during COVID, so that's not really fair. Like,
yeah. Also, Madam Web had those super fast spider people sequences in the beginning.
Yeah,
and I was like, it immediately told you what kind of film it was.
Yeah,
we didn't get any of that, but going back to what you said, Dimitri as the chameleon.
Yeah, so they
did you know that's what they were setting up?
I did, because the internet spoiled it for me.
Okay.
I saw the clip of him doing the transformation stuff before I went in. So I was like, okay, this isn't going to be like, I don't know what this is. Like, I'm going to swipe fast and avoid that. And then they did it. And I was like, it doesn't look horrible. Like the white face doesn't look as bad as I thought it would.
I mean, it definitely reminded me of the 90s animated. So they got the aesthetic right. Yeah. His character, he's played by Fred Hetchinger. I worry that this guy's going to be typecasted in that role, because he's the same role in Gladiator 2. I'm sorry to keep on bringing up Gladiator 2, but I feel like I've seen the same character in two different movies within a month apart. It's that slimy, unconfident, like, I wouldn't say incel. I would just say, like, he's not very confident in himself, but he has power. I don't know how to describe it, but I'm like, you need to get with your agent and get some other characters, because I feel like I just watched the same character twice, and so I was less like, yeah, he's the chameleon at the end, because I just thought his character was annoying as fuck. But I was like, all right, props to you for throwing that in there with the knowledge that this likely wasn't going to amount to anything past this movie. Yeah. But they did it anyway, you know.
Yeah, I did like how he kept throwing his voice, and using, like, the use of ADR there was very entertaining for me.
Yeah, the singing was, I was like, all right, we don't have to. It was like every time he's saying, he would sing like half a verse, and then everybody would clap. We're like, oh, it's that kind of club. They clap at half a verse. It's not the whole song.
Yeah. How much of the Tony Bennett voice rights can we pay for and still make this movie to try to make a profit?
How many words?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say something. So if these movies were all a shared universe, I want to take a head count to see if we can build a Sinister Six with these movies, because I think we can. So we've got, just in this film alone, we've got Kraven, Chameleon, Rhino, and the Foreigner. So that's 4.
Okay. Then we definitely can build 6.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Then in Morbius, we have Morbius.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anyone else
in Morbius?
Not really.
I can't remember. Yeah.
And then in Venom.
Well, there was the Doctor. Was he a
Matt
character
Smith?
That they? Yeah. Did he end up getting a fun name or not really?
I don't think so. I think he is from the comic books. I'm pretty sure he dies in the movie.
Okay.
And then in Venom, you get Venom and all of the Venom variants. So, and then Madam Web, it's not really.
We forgot. Morbius also had Keaton as Scorpion.
Oh yeah.
Not Falcon.
Vulture.
Vulture.
Yeah. I read somewhere that there's just going to be a line in the next Spider-Man movie where something TVA brought Michael Keaton back to this universe.
I mean, okay.
They're going to address it, but like it's going to happen off screen. So if they wanted to, they could do a Sinister Six movie with characters from this. With
one or two subs. Yeah.
One or two subs, but I don't think they're going to. Like it's.
And Madam Web's going to be there. Professor X, the woman in the chair that runs them.
I just watched the episode of Smallville today where Toyman has his Legion of Doom thing, and I was like, oh, is that Black Manta and Solomon Grundy in Smallville? Like, I did not remember that from when I watched the show 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I'm on the finale now, and I'm just like, oh boy, I'm ready for this to end. It's gotten weird, but
that show did get weird for sure. I still need to finish Superman and Lois.
So good.
So this, I'm not going to lie. There was a section in the beginning of this film that I did fall asleep. I got bored at the beginning of this film. But I ended up pushing through to the end. I was bored with the Calypso character. They answered the question later, but every time they kept on showing the screen, the shot of him escaping prison, and then the data would show, oh, this is Kraven. I was like, well, how does the computer system know who Kraven is? And it was because his dad was the one that put it out there or whatever.
Yeah.
But they showed that same video clip like 5 different times to different people. And they were like, wait for the end. And then it shows Kraven. And as the audience member, I was like, yeah, I've seen this like a couple times already.
Yeah.
It was just so that there was redundant things in here. A Dimitri turn at the end. I was like, okay, he's the underappreciated son that takes over the family business. Sure. Russell Crowe going out at the end was kind of satisfying, I guess. I was, so I guess maybe did Russell Crowe not know where Kraven was all this time? Like, did he not think that his dead wife's property might be where his son, who loved his mom, was hanging out all this time?
I think the implication is, since he's the one who sent the video to everyone, he's been keeping an eye on his son from a distance and has known for a while what he's been up to.
Otherwise, he's dumb as hell.
Yeah.
But, and then the Rhino's story kind of reminded me of what's his face from Iron Man 3. The villain in Iron Man 3 who,
Sandman?
Tony.
Iron Man 3. Extremis.
Yeah. Tony was like, I'll meet you up on the roof. And then, he doesn't. And then he comes back all like badass later. This kind of it was a similar story, like he was sucking up to him on a hunt, all those years back. And Russell Crowe was like, yeah, leave me alone. You're a parasite. And then years later, his hairstyle has changed and he's walking around with a backpack, and now he's the Rhino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of gave him like almost like the I really thought they were going to keep him stuck as the Rhino by the end of this, and they didn't. Mm-hmm. He went back to human form. I thought they were going to do like the Scorpion type thing where he's stuck in that form going forward.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the first few minutes of this movie. Did anything sound familiar to you? In the opening sequence when they have the prisoner bus in the snow, did anything sound familiar to you? Because they do something interesting in this that I want to talk about.
Okay, I'm having a hard time recalling. Okay. Fill me in.
So the music during the opening scene, during the opening 4 minutes, which they released the first 8 minutes as marketing material to try to get people to go see this movie. Newsflash, it did not work. The the first 4 minutes of this movie uses the score from the Hunt for Red October.
I did thought that I recognized it. Yeah. Yes, that's right, because it's Russia and everything.
Yeah,
and
they used the hymn from Red October in the opening of this movie, which I think
they really want to bring home that this is Russia or Siberia or whatever.
Yeah. So I thought that I knew that going in. I saw a article on it. Like, yeah, they just used the theme from Red October for this movie. It's like, okay, that's like taking a temp. They pretty much took a temperature. Like, you know what? This works so well. Let's just buy the rights to it, which you don't usually see in Marvel movies. It's not like, like I saw a trailer from like the 80s Spider-Man that they made, where it's just Spider-Man on like a black background, some guy in a suit teasing that there's going to be a Spider-Man movie from like Canon Films, and they use the Superman Planet Krypton theme. It's like, yeah, that doesn't work, but it's for marketing, so I guess it does work for this case. But I just thought it was interesting that made it into the movie. So
sure, I did like that. I saw some fan theory online that the prison that he was in was the same prison that David Harbour was in Black Widow. And I was like, no, it's not, because that would involve some creative work. This was just boring, unnamed Russian prison in the snow. That's all. I'm sure there were ways to tie it in if there was a serious relationship between Sony and Marvel. But if you remember, it says in association with Marvel. Yes. This is not a Marvel movie. And
I mean,
they want to keep their distance as much as possible.
They do. And I'm curious to see what happens going forward with the Sony properties now that they don't plan on doing more. So
yeah. So on that note, because Tom Holland has said that he has creative control. I just watched an interview with him with somebody. I forgot what podcast it was on. They were mostly there to talk about his new NA beer, but they were talking about his life in general and just how he's come up as a person and how he's evolved as a person. And he was really talking about how he acquired creative power on Spider-Man and how he's really like he's using that power to make sure that if they do another one, it's going to be good. And I wonder what it's going to take, and how much putting his foot down he's going to have to do. Because I imagine, when Sony comes to his table and says, we want to make another movie, and they pull out their resume and it's got Kraven and Morbius and Madam Web on there, he's got to be like, we can't do that, I mean, how much putting his foot down is he doing?
I think it's just more creative control for the character of like what the situation is going to be for Peter Parker. Because
I know that.
Yeah. So I
know he doesn't have any control in these movies, but I'm saying like, how much turning down is he doing? I can only imagine if these were things that Sony thought were good ideas.
And I feel like Marvel still has a bit of input. It's not just going to be Sony making the calls. It'll be them and Kevin Feige and the director of Shang-Chi, who is on board to direct Spider-Man 4. Which I feel weird saying because I still feel like Spider-Man 4 should be with Tobey Maguire. But
do they have more room? Do they have more room now with the end of No Way Home to be like, well, now Spider-Man's disconnected from the MCU a little bit and that nobody remembers him, and maybe we can do things outside the purview of the MCU and maybe bring him back later?
They would if this movie wasn't coming out between Doomsday and Secret Wars, where they're going to bring in Spider-Man for both of those, I think. So
are they? Okay.
Supposedly.
I mean, it could be a Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel came out between Infinity War and Endgame, and it wasn't really. It was really just setting up the character. It wasn't like a connected to those films. Other than that, she came back. you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's so little known about the movie at this point, whether it's going to be another multiverse movie or a street level movie with Daredevil, or who knows.
I wanted the other thing I was disappointed in was the lion vest that Kraven gets at the end. Like, I know that's what he's wearing in the poster, but I wanted him to have like a full on coat. I thought the little ab vest was like, okay.
It's just the lion's mane. Like, yeah. What a weird way to end the film. Like, yeah, we're just going to use the image that you've seen on the poster walking into the theater.
But less cool. Like, instead of in a cave with mood lighting, it's just, let me pose for myself in the mirror, you know? Let me see how the light coming through the window in my bedroom, you know, pops off my abs in this mirror. The poster. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and rate the Sony villain films from our least favorite to favorite.
Okay, are we combining the Venom films, or are we doing them individually?
I was going to combine them, I think.
Yeah, let's do that for time's sake.
Yeah. What is your least favorite film of these, of the four? We got Morbius, Kraven the Hunter, and Madam Web, and Venom.
Least favorite, Madam Web.
Okay, same.
Easy. Easy.
Actually, no. My least favorite is Morbius. I think Morbius is just a mess of a film. Rewatching Madam Web, there are some tiny things that make it watchable just because of how bad it is. Morbius is just so bad that I never want to watch it again.
I kind of want to watch Morbius again. I didn't enough to go see it in theaters when they brought it back, but
yeah,
I'm looking at them all. I'm looking at all the films right now without, you know, them being combined. And of the 5 films, I feel like Morbius would be the only one that I'd be interested in seeing again.
Okay. Well,
that might be jumping ahead, but yeah.
Yeah. Morbius is my second lowest.
Okay. So my second lowest would probably be, oh gosh. Venom 2. Or no, that's right. We're not combining them. If we're not combining them, Kraven would be my second.
Okay.
Lowest. Yeah.
Kraven would actually be my second tier, like second favorite. Like, I'm looking forward to making Devin and Ryan watch this on You Have to Watch This, because I use Madam Web and Morbius as like torture picks. This one, I'm actually excited to hear their thoughts on it, because there's stuff I think both of them will like. And I enjoyed it more than I expected to.
Well, Morbius would be my second. So then the Venom movies are the first for both of us.
Yeah.
If we were to break out the Venom films and think of all 6, not 5 films, all 6 films, what's the worst of breaking out the Venom movies? What's the worst out of the 6?
Oh man. Out of the Venom movies, or
I mean, if you divided the Venom movies and made them individual films, we don't have to rank them all again. But what would be your worst? Would it still be Morbius?
I think so. Yeah.
I think I still would put Madam Web at the worst, but then I think Venom 2 would be like second to worst, because that film sucked.
It wasn't good, but the moment where Venom just bites off Cletus's head, just fuck this guy, like gets me every time. Yeah. And I've had the voice of Venom and Eddie Brock as my GPS voice for a while now, and it's so much fun.
It's your GPS voice?
Yeah.
Goodness.
Waze is the fun app.
I heard that.
Yeah. I think that about does it for what we've got for this.
Well,
week.
I had a question for you on this, because I saw this, and I think it was just Rumorville. But there was a couple days ago, there was a few articles hinting at a rumor that Sony was considering selling the Spider-Man rights back to Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the fact of what we would hope and dream about, what do you think is the likelihood of that? Do you think they're likely thinking about it, or this is just, people are saying this because Kraven did bad?
I think what would happen is they would rework their deal so Marvel has more of a creative control on what is made, but Sony still funds the movies. Because there are so many characters in the Spider-Man universe that if they were only ever going to give the rights back to Marvel and Disney, we would only ever get Spider-Man movies. I think what they should do is give Marvel more of a creative input, let it be connected to the MCU, but let Sony pay for the movies and get the financial benefits of releasing two Spider-Man movies outside of the Disney productions, so that we're getting more Marvel. So ideally, we could probably get 4 Marvel movies in a year, 2 from Disney, 2 from Sony.
Okay, so you're saying expanding the deal they already have, because Marvel already has a lot of creative control in terms of Spider-Man.
In terms of Spider-Man, yes.
It's the animated, the game, and the offshoots that they don't have. And that's why I don't think they're realistically talking about selling, because even if Kraven didn't do well, the Spider-Man games did incredibly well. The Into the Spider-Verse movies did incredibly well. Nick Cage has a Spider-Man noir show that's coming out that's probably going to do well. That.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see Amy Pascal or Sony being like, let's just give this back to Marvel.
I think it'll be film rights. I feel like they're going to readjust the deal for the film rights and give Marvel more creative input when it comes to those.
Well, we'll see, because this was the let's hope this was the nail in the coffin for these offshoots, because it was a choice. If we were to go back to when did Venom came out in 2018. So if we were to go back to the year to 2017 and guesstimate, hey, Sony's going to make 6 films that don't have Spider-Man in it but involve Spider-Man films, I would have guessed. I would have hard to guess Venom without Spider-Man, but Venom's a pretty strong choice. But I would have never guessed Morbius or Madam Web, and probably not even Kraven's. I'm surprised that they went this route, but at least they did, and hopefully they got it out of their system.
Yeah. Let me look something up quick. Is there a list here? I'm looking for a list of So there are other films that were in development that never happened. I just want to list off a few of them. The Sinister Six, which we mentioned before. There was a script based on the character Night Watch that Sony wanted Spike Lee to direct. There was a film based off of Jackpot that they wanted Mark Guggenheim to write.
I don't know what that is.
There was an El Muerto movie starring Bad Bunny that was announced and then quickly scrapped. There was an Olivia Wilde Spider-Woman movie that was in development. There was a lot of things that they tried to do that just didn't happen. So,
I was thinking about this. We're going to talk about probably our next episode. We're going to talk about at least Superman, so we don't have to talk about that now. But there's been a lot of talk about Superman this week, and I've just been thinking about how lucky Marvel Studios is, because think of how many Spider-Man incarnations we've had, how many Superman versions we've had, and how much of a struggle it must be to sell a new version of that. Like, I don't envy whoever has to bring Venom back on screen, because it's clearly not easy. Somebody thought they did it well when Joker 1 made $1 billion, but then they screwed the pooch with the second one. A lot of people love the Venom movies. I do not like them. So are they going to try to do a marriage of that style of Venom and the classic villain Venom? Are they going to go full villain for the next one? I don't envy the writers or the studios that have to reinvent these characters so many times in my lifetime. And then I'm sure they all just were like, I wish we could play for the Marvel team, because in my lifetime there's only been one Iron Man, and they nailed it. There's only been in my lifetime there's only been one Captain America. There was another Captain America back in the day, but that was over a decade plus.
We don't count that.
Yeah. But there's only been one Captain America. There's only been one Thor officially that wasn't in the Babysitter movie. They really nailed it, and then they committed to those characters. And so I don't envy Sony, because if they do keep the Spider-Man thing, man, they're gonna have to do this all over again in such a short time. It's crazy.
And I feel like audiences will be more inclined to go with new versions of characters like Venom or Kraven if they're grounded in a reality that we already know. Like we talked about with Penguin, with the being grounded in the Batman universe. If you bring Venom into the MCU because we know that the symbiote is there, like if you're doing Secret Wars, you're going to do symbiote, then you can do Venom. Like it'll make sense if it's part of the story. Like if you have Peter Parker get the black suit and then get rid of the black suit and then Venom's created, or maybe have Kraven the Hunter hunting Spider-Man in the MCU, or Jared Leto not in the MCU at all, please. I feel like if they're connected and grounded around that character, these rebrandings of these characters will work.
They're either going to have to do them pretty soon or come up with new characters, because one thing that I almost said No Wrong Door. No Way Home did well, but it was an interesting choice, was that they brought back Doc Ock. They brought back
Green Goblin.
Spider-Man, Green Goblin. And the fact that they did that means I don't think we're going to see a different version of those characters. I would hope not. I don't want a different version. We saw the old Doc Ock be brought to the new, so I don't want a different version of Doc Ock. Do you?
Of Doc Ock, I would love to see Alfred Molina. When they first announced he was coming back, it's like, oh, so he's going to play Octavius, but from the MCU. Like it's just going to be a variant type thing.
Well, that's fine, but I'm saying a different version. I don't want a different Green Goblin. I thought Defoe claimed that for all time.
He definitely claims it. And he has the interesting line of somebody else is living in my house. There's no Oscorp. So if you're going to bring in Osborn to the MCU, you have to do it so that there is no Oscorp. Like what is Norman Osborn doing instead? And I think character wise, it would be interesting if you did bring in Norman Osborn when Peter Parker knows that a variant of this guy killed his aunt. Like that'd be very interesting to see play out. Like if he does become friends with Harry Osborn and gets to know Norman, like what is that like when he knows that a version of this guy killed his aunt? And I think that could be very interesting to play with. There's also been rumors for years about Matthew McConaughey playing that role, which may or may not be something that we see next year in a Marvel thing. So
I feel like they brought those characters in to cement that they were the best versions we ever had of those, and to say moving forward, we're either going to come up with new villains or we're going to focus on villains we haven't seen yet. And so the fact that we've already seen Venom, I don't think we're going to get him immediately. I certainly hope we get him at some point versus Tom Holland, just not this version. But if we get another trilogy of Spider-Man films, what Tom Holland has hinted at, I would hope that Green Goblin and Doc Ock are not involved in either of those because unless it's Defoe and what's his name that played Doc Ock, if they came back, if they came back, I'd be perfectly happy. But I'm saying new versions of those characters, I wouldn't want new versions so soon. I would want them to come up with something else.
I feel like at some point we're gonna have to lose everyone who's been part of this universe at one point and recast, because like they joke in Deadpool and Wolverine about Hugh Jackman doing it until he's 90. Willem Dafoe is a lot closer than 90 than Hugh Jackman, and I don't think he's going to be doing these films forever. So,
but it was a choice to bring him back to begin with.
It was,
So,
but
anyway,
I think that's all I've got on all the topics we've covered today.
Yeah, we covered a lot.
Yeah, I am all podcasted out. So,
me too, buddy.
Yeah, but it's great catching up with you. We need to do this again soon. I think we do. Like once I wrap up Smallville, I feel like we should do like a Superman tribute episode.
Well, you wrap up Smallville, I'll wrap up Superman and Lois. Maybe we can have a Superman on TV discussion and then talk about the new trailer, because the new trailer comes out tomorrow. They've released a little bit, but I am giddy. I am excited. I'm anxious. So,
I am too. I am looking forward to it.
I already see the people online. Half are like, "Oh my god, this is giving me chills." Half are like, "Nope, it's gonna flop. I already know it from the stuff we've seen so far." And I'm like, "What stuff have we seen so far? We've seen seconds."
The post automatically became my phone background. So.
I want to be hopeful. Superman's all about hope. I want to be hopeful.
Yes.
So we'll see.
Well, hopefully we have something to look up to for that when we reconvene next time. But until next time, I want to
have a big Superman discussion. That's going to be our next episode. I want to talk about Brandon Routh. I want to talk about the Reeves film. We're just going to have a Superman discussion.
Sounds good.
Either before the end of the year or early January. We'll see.
Sounds good. I've got the Superman Blu-ray collection ready to go. So,
all right.
But yeah, until next time, for Brilliant But Lazy, I'm Alan.
I'm Josh. Thanks for listening.
And in the words of Dr. Fraser Crane, wishing you good mental health.